This is Iceland, and this is the North Atlantic. And if you can't already tell, something pretty big just happened here. A volcano erupted underneath the seafloor. It wasn't particularly powerful, but it's got scientists worried because it could be an early sign of what's to come. Because this volcano was hiding under the seafloor of the North Atlantic. When it erupted, it created an underwater mountain called a seamount. And now that seamount is taller than the Empire State Building. But even though this volcano isn't really dangerous to people, there are some volcanoes out there that are starting to get active that could spell disaster for millions of people. Like, for instance, this volcano under the Mediterranean Sea that hasn't erupted in 2,000 years, or this one that's been quiet for 70,000 years. These volcanoes have been dormant for so long that their activity might not show up in historical records. So we don't know how dangerous they are, or how high the death toll might be if they were to erupt today. But luckily for us, NASA is working on a new mission to find out. Earth has been extra grumpy lately. In 2021, we had record-breaking volcanic eruptions from places like Mount Etna and Mount Pinatubo. And 2022 started off with a bang when the Hunga Tonga volcano in the Pacific Ocean caused a tsunami and was the world's largest volcanic eruption in 3 decades. But while 2022 is looking like it will be another busy year for volcanoes, it's nothing compared to what's coming next. You see, Earth has been overdue for a volcanic surge for about the last 60,000 years. And experts say that we're entering a period where the frequency of large eruptions will increase. The reason we're heading into this volcanic hot zone is because of a place on Earth that you may have heard of before, the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire stretches from New Zealand all the way up through Indonesia, Japan, and the Eurasian Islands, before turning north towards the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, and then down through California and the Basin and Range Province before ending back in Mexico. As you can see, the Ring of Fire circles the basin of the Pacific Ocean, and nearly every major fault line on Earth runs through it, which means that much of this region is prone to earthquakes and volcanoes. And right now, the Ring of Fire is going through a rough patch. It's like a bad breakup that Earth is still reeling from. About 20 million years ago, Earth's tectonic plates shifted when the Farallon plate, the smaller plate carrying part of the Pacific Ocean floor, was subducted or slid under the North American plate. This meant that the eastern edge of the Pacific plate was no longer being pulled smoothly along the coast of South America like it used to. Instead, it started getting stuck and grinding against the North American plate near the coast of California. This created a massive snag in the system, and after 20 million years of build-up, the stress finally released in the form of an earthquake that had a magnitude of 7.9 or higher. This megaquake cut the eastern edge of the Pacific plate free and sent it sliding northwest. This created the complex web of faults that we have today. And the subduction zone, where the Pacific plate meets the North American plate near the coast of Oregon, is still going strong. It's the same subduction zone that caused the New Madrid, Missouri earthquakes in 2013. But for some reason, this shift in the Pacific plate has made the Ring of Fire super grumpy. The whole area is experiencing more earthquakes and volcanic activity than usual, and that includes Mount Vesuvius, the volcano that destroyed the Roman city of Pompeii in 79 AD. And if history has taught us anything, it's that Mount Vesuvius is overdue for another blow-up. But Mount Vesuvius is only one of the volcanoes that's keeping scientists up at night. The La Soufriere volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines also blew its lid recently. And it wasn't quite the sleepy island paradise that you may have imagined before. Ash fell on neighboring islands and entire villages had to be evacuated. Then there's Mount Ibu in Indonesia, which had a massive eruption in September of 2021 and continues to rumble today. And the reason why Mount Ibu and Mount Vesuvius and the Hunga Tonga volcano and the swarm of volcanoes in the Ring of Fire are acting up is because it's hard to study exactly what goes on beneath the surface of Earth. It's not like we can just dig a hole to the core or ask the core what's going on, but the insides of volcanoes do give off clues about their behavior through tiny vibrations called seismic signals. But until recently, we haven't been able to listen closely enough to those signals because we didn't have the technology. Thankfully, NASA has a plan to change that. First, we need to talk about a place called Yellowstone National Park. If you've never heard of it, it's home to bison, wolves, and geysers. Oh, and also a supervolcano. The Yellowstone supervolcano is one of the largest in the world. When it erupts, the devastation can be seen from space. And it does occasionally erupt, but usually it just rumbles beneath the surface as magma slowly builds up. In the magma chamber, that's why monitoring Yellowstone for signs of unrest is kind of a big deal. But fortunately for everyone living near Yellowstone, scientists have a pretty good idea of what to expect if the volcano erupts. That's because Yellowstone gives off lots of clues about its behavior by sending seismic signals through the rock around it. And as these signals travel through the crust, their speed and strength change based on the type of rock they're moving through. And by measuring how fast the seismic signals move, scientists can map what's happening beneath the surface. Scientists already know a lot about what's going on beneath Yellowstone, thanks to a project called the Yellowstone Seismic Experiment in the 1980s, which involved putting tons of seismometers in and around the park. But now, they want to improve their understanding of the volcano by recording higher-frequency seismic signals. And to do that, they're turning to robots. Enter the bold and intrepid mole robots. Okay, their official name is the Multi-Scale Earth Observatory for Subsurface Characterization. And there's no mascot dressed like a mole that accompanies them, but I like to call them mole robots. These little guys are the size of a bowling ball and use mole-like claws to dig themselves into the ground. Once they're underground, they can continuously monitor seismic signals without being affected by things like wind and rain. NASA has developed these mole robots specifically for missions on Mars and other rocky planets, where they could help search for signs of life by listening for rumblings inside the planet. But they can also be used here on Earth to monitor volcanoes like Yellowstone's, which makes them surprisingly useful. Using the mole robots, scientists hope to learn more about how magma moves through different types of rocks, which will help them predict how well magma might move in the event of an eruption. They also want to use the mole robots to look for magma chambers in places that are hard to reach, like under thick ice sheets. Normally, scientists can only measure the bumps on the surface of Earth's crust to try to figure out what's beneath it. But if they had a robot that could tunnel under the surface, they could gather much more precise data about the shape of the magma chamber, which would help them predict when the volcano might erupt. So far, the mole robots have been tested at the Idaho National Laboratory, which involves a giant centrifuge that shakes the mole robots as if they were in an earthquake to see if they can withstand the force. Next, NASA plans to test the robots in a volcano for the first time, and hopefully soon they'll be deployed to places like Mount Vesuvius and Mount Ibu to help scientists understand the inner workings of these volatile volcanoes. That way, if they do decide to blow their tops, we can be better prepared. It turns out that tracking down answers to our biggest questions often takes us to the most unexpected places. Take, for instance, the search for extraterrestrial life. We tend to think of aliens as being from faraway planets. But did you know that right here on Earth, there's evidence that there may have been life on our planet that we've never discovered? All the best stories from Seeker Space are just a single click away. So go ahead, click that button and subscribe to Seeker Space to get all the science of space delivered straight to your feed.